Podquester time, now it is Podquester time.
Brent, thank you so much for being with us here today. We have some questions that we've prepared for you, but also feel free, of course, if you feel like there's anything that we've missed.
I'm sure I might have something to say.
Not you, not Brent. I've never heard of you being overly expressive or...
Right? Never. Let's go.
Open your shell, Brent. Just open yourself to us.
That's right.
I'm going to go ahead and start off, and we're going to start with this episode and maybe kind of jump around a little bit to talk about your game as a whole.
Sure.
Let's talk about like the most obvious question, which is, why do you think that Muna paired you up with Spencer, knowing that Spencer was going to go?
So I had pretty good relations with Muna. My relationship with Muna wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. It wasn't so bad that I think, all things being equal, she comes back into the game, she's going to put me with Spencer. I was actually friends with Spencer before the game started. I was friends with Spencer for about a year before the game started. He was the only person that I had, hour-long conversations with going into the game. And nobody knew about that. So I thought I'd done a pretty good job of distancing myself from Spencer. Like, whenever people were open to voting for Spencer, I was like, yeah, sounds good to me. I'll vote for Spencer. Of course, I never did, but I was open to it when talking with people. My mistake was panicking in the 4th episode, because in the 4th episode, Jacob gets voted out. Spencer is his tether, goes with him. Once Jacob picks Rachel, I know in my heart of hearts I'm in the free and clear. Okay? Spencer's going to pick somebody. It's not going to be me. All right? But I knew that I had not been 100% loyal to Spencer because of the weird quirks of Sequester. Sometimes it's okay when your friends get voted out. When your friends get voted out, you're not getting dragged. And that's what we're all worried about. Most of us are not worried about getting voted out. We're worried about getting dragged. So when your friends go, it's not so bad for you. It's like, I don't want you to go, but sure. So when I knew that Spencer was on the verge of getting voted off with Jacob, I had been open to voting for Jacob. You saw me in the laundry room, willing to vote for Jacob. And there were other moments in time. Obviously, in the 3rd episode, I openly campaigned against Spencer because I felt like it was him or me. I felt as though I panicked, and I said to myself, if he knows that I have been double-crossing him a little bit behind his back, he might just pick me. So when he says, who are my allies here? Who are my allies? I felt compelled to raise my hand, and I was like, I'm your ally. And then that's when I jumped into the fray and got into it with Shireen and then later Billy. And I think that, and remember, the jury's sitting right there, and Muna's in the jury at that point. So I had a 10-minute argument with Shireen where Spencer eventually sides with me. If there was any chance that Spencer was going to be paired with somebody like Brendan, I think that went out the window when the jury was like, Muna, Brent's terrible, isn't he? And she's like, yeah, he's terrible. And, you saw what happened.
So did you believe at all her kind of facade of, listen, I think you can beat him in a puzzle?
I think that she was totally fine with Spencer going, and she wanted me to stay. I felt like she did a good enough job of convincing me of that. But what I knew in my heart was that, obviously she doesn't want me in the game that much if she's willing to play Russian roulette with my life. I mean, she just lost a battle match to Spencer. She knows it can be anything. I know it can be anything. I've watched Sequester before. It could be digging numbers out of kitty litter. Come on, it can be anything. So, I know that she's playing with my life here, and I just want to... Basically, I think there was a conversation with Muna that wasn't shown where I was like, hey, I get it. I'm not mad. I love you. You're fantastic. Knowing that, I'm probably going out here and the only way I'm going to come back in is just to beat Spencer in a battle match. It did hearten me watching the episode, thinking, going into this season, I was like, my social game was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. I think the only person who was worse than me was Spencer. But watching people like Marcelo and Josh and Brendan and Natalie be like, I don't want Brent to go. I was like, you know what? My social game wasn't terrible. There were people that were on my side. There were people that were definitely against me, and that was part of my problem. But there were people that were definitely on my side.
Was there anything else from the confessionals? Like you talk about that of finding out that people were willing to work with you. Was there anything else that you felt surprised by watching? You know, we're watching back now. As of now, is there anything that surprised you in the confessionals?
I think the only thing that really surprised me was Rachel's open disdain for me from the word go. Like, it had nothing to do with anything that happened in the killer and detective round. It had nothing to do with anything else other than the fact that she just doesn't like me for whatever reason. I can't explain it. I guess we just don't vibe. I said that in my interview with Taryn, that we just don't vibe very well. I'll take the high road on that one. I think, like, you know, she's a great gal. I think she played the game the best she could. She played the game that she wanted to play, and I played the game that I wanted to play. And sometimes those things just don't mix.
Yeah, I think that we saw Rachel was very expressive, not just of you.
Oh, yeah.
To be fair.
Oh yeah. Hey, I just want to say too, like, again, people, I know people were like, you know, Rachel hates you. Yeah, she hates me, but she also realized that I didn't hate her. I did a good enough job making sure that people, you know, felt like I at least had their best interest at heart. So when it came time to pick between me and Spencer in episode 3, she probably hates me more, but she realizes that Spencer is the one who's out to get her. And she's like, look, Brent's somebody who's abrasive. He's somebody that I really don't like very much, but I know he's not coming for me anytime soon. So, you know,
so game-wise, she felt like she could deal with you.
Exactly.
Speaking of confessionals and things that kind of surprised you, there were a lot of relationships that were hidden. I knew that you've spoken a little bit about knowing about Marcelo and Jacob. Were there, and hiding your own relationship with Spencer? Have there been any relationships that have come forward that you're like, if I had known that?
Right? I think that Josh and Billy is a relationship that was pretty unseen by the rest of us. I think Josh was seen as friendly with everybody, and none of us realized how hard he was playing the game at the time. So it was probably a shock for me to see that, you know, from the first episode, he was really working really hard and making bonds with people that he didn't have a relationship with in the house, because he didn't have a relationship with anybody in the house. That was the thing. Like, Josh didn't have a relationship with anybody in the house. So I feel like his task was clear from the word go. Like, he's got, I have to make relations with people. Otherwise, I'm going to be totally screwed here in this game. But people like me who came into the game with, you know, maybe one relationship with Spencer and some tenuous relationships with Muna and Jacob and Katie, people that I talked to offline, had conversations with, I think I sort of rested on my laurels a little bit. And I was like, I'm good, you know? And then I didn't realize as time went on that people like Josh and Natalie passed me along the way. And that was an awakening to me.
A little bit of a tortoise and a hare situation going on.
Yeah,
there.
totally. Yeah.
With that, you only have in a game like this, in the live, you have, what, 15 minutes to really be...
If that...
Yeah, to be able to interact. How is that going in and only having that amount of time and sitting there and having to just think about your game moves? You know, we see it with the whole Katie thing. You're sitting there, your boat gets revealed, and then you have to sit and just think about it for the rest of the night.
For 16 hours. Yeah, exactly. So that's the part about Sequester that I didn't realize was literally Sequester. Like, you're not back at the house, like, kikiing with your boys and girls. Like, you know, you're not having a great time. You're not, like, getting out the things that need to be said that were said during the round, or some of the game moves that you made during the round. No, you're literally blocked from everybody else after the round is over. After the battle match selection goes off, everyone is marched back to the house one by one with their own handlers. You go to your room, you sit there, and you think, and you fill out the confessional form so that you have your thoughts ordered when you go into the confessional. But that's it. I mean, you got your TV, you got your bathroom, you know, you can eat. You know, it's not like you're in prison, but you're by yourself. The only person I could talk to was Mallory, because she was my handler. The fembot. And you know, she was somebody that I could at least, you know, rant to, and she was a good listener. Like, she was like, I know, right? Yeah, she was. Yeah,
exactly. Mallory Flowers.
I know, right?
The Mallory Diary comes out, the exclusive book that she writes.
She's got all the secrets, let me tell you, because I sat there and ranted to her about everything up and down the whole game. Because I was in the game until, like, what, the 4th or 5th day. Yeah, because we started on we got there on Thursday, and I went out on Tuesday. So she definitely has all the tea.
Well, I cannot wait for that. Like Tommy said, I want the diaries. I want the whole thing.
Yeah, right.
So you came in with some very clear plans. I remember talking to you in our lost interviews,
Right.
Podquester. But I remember you came in with some very clear plans about how you wanted to play, and also during the episodes, you made it clear that you came in with some specific ideas, like the marriage of necessity, and how to pull those out, etc. Do you think that was a benefit for you, or do you think that it might have been more beneficial to be more open, or do you think how do you think that played out for you?
I think it was probably not a benefit overall because of two things. Number one, my plan coming into the game was to be as open and as brutally honest during the minis. That's what I'd said in my interview with you. I wanted to be as open and as honest and brutally honest during the minis so that people knew when they came into the game, they could trust me. And you know what? It worked for the first 5 minutes. People were like, you know what? Brent said he's not going to vote for Katie. I trust him. We'll put him into exile. He's not going to vote for Katie. He said he's not going to vote for Katie. He swore up and down he's not going to vote for Katie. I vote to eliminate Katie. What? You said you wouldn't do it. What? Like from the word go, I didn't realize at the time how much consternation that vote against Katie caused, because it wasn't just in front of the 7 of us who were in exile. It was also in front of the 6 people who were safe sitting over in the bleachers. And when I gave my little speech to Josh about, hey, I sided with you, I wanted you to stay in the game. And of course, the reason I did that is because I'm panicking. I know that there's a chance he could pull me into a battle match here. He could know that I'm actually not on his side, that I was campaigning for people to vote for Josh. Just to back up a little quick, in that first round, I was openly campaigning, trying to get people to vote for Josh. Look, I think they were already anyway, but I was making sure that they were all going to vote for Josh so that I could vote for Katie, and then it wouldn't matter. So that when he revealed my vote, I would say, look, I voted for Katie. And he's like, oh, okay, because that's what he forced me to do. He said, if you don't vote my way, I'm going to drag you into a battle match. So I took that as I have to vote for Katie. After the fact, I figured out that if I had thrown my vote, then he would have accepted that. But I didn't even need to do anything. Josh is very transactional. Like if I had just said, you know what, I voted for Katie and left it at that in the ceremony, that would have been enough for him. I wouldn't have been dragged into the battle match, and I could have explained it to everybody back at the house. In fact, in the moment, all I had to say was, I voted for Katie because you threatened me to do so and said you dragged me into a battle match. If I had said that, then I think people like Billy and Muna, who were really taken aback by the fact that I voted for Katie, would have understood. But instead, I made this, big soliloquy about, Josh, you're amazing. I love you. I want you to stay. And then, yes, that solidified my safety for round 1, which was key for me. But I really torched the rest of my game because at that point, people are like, well, you just swore for like 3 or 4 times you wouldn't vote for Katie. And then you fucking did, you idiot. So like, how can we believe you? So that's why you hear Billy in the elimination ceremony in episode 4 saying, dude, he voted for Katie and that was his best friend. She really wasn't, but I said that I wouldn't do it. And then I did. So I had really, you know what? This all comes back to Josh. I'll blame him for everything because if he doesn't threaten me in the first episode, I think everything's fine. He threw me for such a loop during the first episode. I knew I wasn't very happy going to exile, but I was like, okay, I'm not getting voted off, and I don't think they're dragging me. And then Josh threatens me out of nowhere. Me! I'm the guy he listened to. And I'm like, why me? I was so mad. I was like, you listened to me. Why? He's like, well, I need to know you're on my side. And he was like, Josh was such a dick in that moment. He wasn't fun Josh. He was dick Josh. So he was like, look, if you don't vote my way, I'm dragging you into battle match. That's all there is to it. Well, and then I said, I don't know what to do. He's like, well, if you don't vote for me, you got nothing to worry about. And I'm like, all right, Godfather. So, I did what I said, and it saved me round 1, but it definitely caused problems moving forward. As far as the marriage of necessity goes, look, Audrey is an evil genius. I don't know who the fuck she's going to put into this house. So I had surmised ahead of time, look, if my worst enemy is there, and we know some of those people, all right, if they're there, I'm going to have to deal with them. And how am I going to deal with them? I'm going to threaten them. I'm going to blackmail them. I'm going to let them know if they come after me, I'm pulling them with me. So that's where the marriage of necessity was wrought. I didn't think I was going to have to use it on Katie. But I knew that Katie was pretty pissed at me. And like in hindsight, did I have to use the marriage of necessity with Katie? Did I have to go after her that hardcore? No, I did not. I think a softer tack would have been way easier with Katie. I think she would have accepted it in the moment. But that's the way I chose to play the game. You know, I decided to go at it pretty aggro. I didn't want to take I didn't want to walk back into the batter's box. Or back to the batter's box. I didn't want to. This is my sports analogy. I didn't want to walk back to the bench and not have swung at every pitch that I could have. So that's why that happened. And was it the best choice? Probably not. But I decided to take a swing at it.
Do you think that a lot of that has to do with that time that you sit there alone and you just have a plan and you script out your plan and you cannot like there, it doesn't allow for love. It felt very, I have decided what I'm going to say to you, and this is what you're going to hear from me, and this is what we're going to do moving forward, and this is going to work. It didn't feel like, hey, I'm feeling you out. Is this something that would work? Like you would normally see in a social strategy game where you like maybe throw something and then wait and see how they treat it.
Right.
It felt very
well. Yes, I'll say that's how it was for me. I mean, you see people like Shireen and Rachel, Muna, other people who are a little more social, who are a little more easygoing, who did a much better job than me. Like you didn't see them walking up to people threatening them when the minute the bell rang. So I feel like that was more indicative of me. But it was disheartening to sit in a room for anywhere from 10 to 16 hours and. I'm sleeping for a lot of that time, but also like I'm thinking that a lot of that time, and I'm ranting, and I'm wondering about what the next round brings, And as time went on, I was like, maybe I've got a shot here. And so as this time went on, I was like thinking more and more. And then, ironically, I felt the best the moments of the morning that I went home. Like because at that point, there were only 6 of us left in the game because Spencer and Jacob had not yet been revealed to us as the winners of the battle match, and Muna had not come back in. So there's only 6 of us in the dining room at the start of the day. And I looked around, and I'm like, everybody here but Billy is probably on my side. Like, I like my chances. And then, of course, 10 minutes later, Muna comes back in. She pairs me with Spencer, and everything's up in smoke. But that's Sequester.
Do you think that if there had been some time, like if Muna had been able to, like 5 minutes to talk to Muna before she pairs people up, you could have convinced her not to pair you up with Spencer?
No, I don't. I think her heart was pretty set on that. You'd have to ask her, but I think that it's probably likely that I get paired with Spencer no matter what. I think I had done a lot of damage to my game the night of the 4th and 5th elimination, the double elimination, and really had. Basically, I was sucking Spencer's dick out there. Like, I was like, dude, I'm on your side. Like, I'm your boy. Come on. So when she's wanting to get Spencer out of the game, she's like, okay, I'm going to put him with Brent. That sounds good. And everybody else, I love you. So, yeah, I think I was getting paired with Spencer.
During that round, we saw you try a couple different strategies, saying, hey, we won't reveal your vote if you vote with us. How did it feel not having the ability to threaten a drag? Yeah.
It felt like we were playing Survivor. Okay, I'm just being real. I've been open about this. Like, I have no problems with any of the powers that Muna got. That's all cool. I know that people coming back into the game are immune. They usually are involved in the ceremony or the twist some way. Muna, all the things she got, totally great. But to add on top of that, the fact that, we're not going to do a drag this round. For the first time in Sequester history, there's no drag. There's no karma. There's no nothing. It's just, we're going to vote people out who we don't like. It felt like any other random reality show. It didn't feel like the show that I had signed up for. It didn't feel like Sequester. But them's the breaks.
And there was some discussion, speaking of strategy, of an LOS. What was your LOS strategy there? What were you trying to accomplish with your vagueness about this?
Well, if I said to them, here's the thing. If I said I don't have an LOS, then they're going to vote for us. If I said I do have an LOS, they're going to want to see it. So I don't really know what Marcelo expected me to do there. Like, if I say, yeah, I have an LOS, then they're going to know I don't have an LOS, because if you have an LOS, you're not going to tell people about it. Like, I was in a really bad situation. I don't even know what my strategy was there. I have some ideas on how I could have played the round differently, but you never know when you might end up on something again. So I'll keep that to myself.
Okay. Well, then we definitely look forward to that happening again.
Right? We definitely look forward to that.
So yeah, I mean, in the battle match, you were really close. Like it was a good battle match. And we saw you trying to repair relationships. We saw those moments of like, if I do come back, I need to think of this. What was your plan?
I was running around like a chick with my head cut off for most of the round. Like, let's be honest. It wasn't just the fact that I was paired with Spencer. It was that I was paired with a Cinderblock who is Spencer. Okay. Spencer was my shield for the previous 3 rounds. But in this round, he was my anchor. He was really a total cement Cinderblock anchor. Like any chance we had of staying in the round was evaporated in the first 5 seconds when he gets in a dining room with all 4 representatives from all 4 pairs and says, let's make a plan. Well, who the fuck are you going to vote for, Spencer? Like, that's why you saw me leave the room and say, I can't do this right now. Because all of the pairs are there. What are we going to do? What plan are we going to make that everybody here is happy with? This is dumb. So my only mistake in the round was that I should have grabbed Spencer and pulled him with me. I didn't think he was dumb enough to say openly in an open forum, let's vote for Brendan. Hi, Brendan. How you doing? Like, it was just really frustrating. And so from there, I'm trying to clean up his mess. And of course, Brendan was indignant the entire time that after Spencer said, I'm going to vote for Brendan, he didn't realize that there's only 4 choices in this round. And one of them is right here. And we're obviously not going to vote for ourselves. So we have to pick from the other 3. It was almost like it was a personal attack on Brendan. And like for the rest of the round, he was like, how dare you? He said he was going to vote for me. And I'm like, girl, get off the cross. Come on. Like, this is a little much. I was not feeling it because here's the thing. I think people had thrown around my name multiple times throughout the entire game. And I didn't have a problem with it. That's just part of Sequester. Finally, Brendan's name gets said. And he's like, oh, like it was, I didn't like it.
Do you think he was actually upset or do you think he was?
I think he was actually upset. He was ranting about it to everybody. I literally spent the entire round trying to calm him down and I still didn't get his vote. Yeah. No, he was definitely.
Was there any thought maybe I should cut my losses and vote for and like have everybody?
I mean, he was the only. I had to have Brendan's vote. Brendan was one of the only people that I felt like wouldn't care about that wouldn't care about the other 2 pairs and would want to save me and Spencer. He was the only person of the 9 people in the game at that point who I felt like if we're gonna do anything here, we have to have his vote. And like the votes that I saw in front of me were Brendan, Natalie, and maybe Josh, maybe Jacob, maybe Marcelo. Like one of those 3. But it has to be Brendan and Natalie, and then somebody else. That's what it needs to be. But the problem was that Natalie was with Billy, so I can't vote for that pair. Brendan's with Marcelo, so I can't vote for that pair. And I need 2 more votes. So I need 1 more vote. But Jacob and Josh are both on the remaining pair. Like Muna did an excellent job of putting all the pairs in such a configuration that it was going to be really tough for me to get 5 votes. And as you saw, like nobody threw their vote this round because they didn't need to, because there was no drag, because we weren't playing Sequester anymore. We were just voting off the people that we didn't like.
Okay. I think you feel very passionately about that.
I do. Like, I mean, here's the thing about Sequester, the live version, is that there's always a drag. Okay, there's always instant karma. That's what the show talks about. It's in its goddamn tagline. Okay, when you're seeing here's how to play Sequester, it's all about the karma. Okay, and it's not like Survivor where there's karma at the end. Okay, yeah, Sequester has that, but Sequester has karma instantly. Like you vote people out and they got something to say about it. It's not like, oh, the check is in the mail. Sequester's like, bitch, the check is due now. I'm gonna drag you into a battle match. But there was none of that in this round. It was just like, okay, we're going to vote for some people and bye. See you later. I just, yeah.
Yes. I think that I think if the pairs had been different it would have been interesting to see, but
yeah, and it wasn't a Muna specific thing either. First of all, Muna did a fabulous job of putting us together, and she's just playing the game in front of her, just so you know. So I got no problems there. And also, if it had been somebody else coming back into the game, I don't think I would have been tagged with Spencer. Like, I do think it was my own mistakes that caused me to be placed with Spencer. Like, if Katie came back into the game, she wouldn't have put me with Spencer. If Jay West came back into the game, he wouldn't have put me with Spencer. If Rachel came back into the game, she said she wouldn't put me with Spencer. She would have put Spencer with Brendan because she was really over Brendan at that point. So it was really a 2 out of 5 chance for me to totally end up screwed. And Muna was one of those 2 people. And that's the way the cookie crumbles.
It would have been interesting because I think that Katie wants to keep Spencer.
Yeah. She said she would have put me with Natalie. So
yeah,
I don't know how that would have worked out. Maybe I get voted off there and lose to Natalie. I don't know.
I don't know. It's interesting because I don't think Katie realized how much. I don't know. It would have been interesting.
Right.
Let's just say it would have been like a lot more. In this case, people were happy to do what Muna wanted. Why do you think that was?
I think she's a fantastic player. She's really skilled. She's bold. She knew exactly how to play the round from the moment that from the moment that the spotlight was on her and she was like, oh, I get to make the pairs. Like, see, some people would have shrunk away from that. I think there are some players in the game who would have really shrunk away from that and like would have said like, look, I put you with him because, you know, like I'm trying to like balance it as much as possible. No, Muna was like, I put Spencer with Brent because I want Brendan to beat his ass in a puzzle because that's what I think is happening. And all the rest of y'all vote for them. I mean, that's basically what she did. So she did a fantastic job. By the way, I didn't answer your question on the battle match, Tommy. I was really close in the battle match. Like I had a lead on Spencer. I think the thing that I did that Spencer didn't do was I looked down at the rope that was like, you know, tied together. And I looked at the way it had been configured so that when the round started, I wasn't panicking trying to untie it. Like I literally knew how to pull it out and undo it. And like, I looked at the mechanism of the rope as I'm standing there on the log. I don't think Spencer did that because when the bell rang, he literally looks like Charlie Brown over there with the rope all over him, trying to figure out like how to get it undone. That was the only reason why I had a lead.
It was very comic.
Yeah. I know, right? So I was on the second plank before Spencer even got off the initial plank. I definitely had a lead in the round, but Spencer was really good at lassoing those planks. Like it was like one lasso and he would just like flick his wrist and he had it. Like he would pull it back. Like I was definitely having more of a problem lassoing my planks. And then by the time we got to the final plank, that was where he was lassoing the final plank. And I fell off. And not only did I fall off, but I left the rope out of reach so that when I came back, I started to play again. And I'm like, oh my God, the rope's out of reach. So I have to step off again. Oh my God, this is such a disaster. And then by then he's walking back to the finish and I'm out of the game. That's all she wrote.
Well, you said that, you know, you were like, oh, you know, if I were only a few years younger, but I think that you did really well.
Oh, I did. Yeah.
I feel like, you know, that's not even, you know, I talk a lot about how like I judge things based on how the least physical person probably in the Sequester community, or one of the least, you know,
right.
Somebody who's like physically disabled would do in these kind of matches. And I was like, this is really about hand-eye coordination. And like you said, thinking ahead, because Spencer really did. It was like, you know, when you get earphones like tangled up, he was like freaking out like that. He was like, oh God, what's happening here?
Yeah, right. Like, yeah, I will say that I will push back just a little bit because the first block had like it was like a board with like cinder blocks on it. It was really supported, okay? But as you move along, when you're trying to stand on those boards and it's a little 2x4, and I'm a big boy, right? So it's like you're trying to lasso the thingies and then like you're trying to use your momentum to get the rope out there, but your momentum carries you off the board. You really have to fight that. So I really do think that's where Spencer excelled. And Spencer's even bigger than I am, but he had such a great balance on the boards to know how to flick the rope out there and rope it to the hook and pull it back and balance along the way. Like that was something that I definitely struggled with. And it was like, here's the thing. I made jokes on Twitter where I'm like, you couldn't give me like ping pong balls or some kitty litter or something. Like you had to give me like the most physical game of the season against the physical beast of the season. But honestly, I wouldn't change it for the world. It was such a thrill getting to do this. It was like a Survivor challenge. Like, it really felt like it was epic. There were like, ropes and planks and, balancing, and like you really got to feel yourself when you were out there. So I came close to beating him. I was psyched that Audrey wasn't going to have to use some movie magic to make it look like I was actually close, when I knew I actually came close to beating him. But he was better than me. So that's 3 battle matches for him, and I'm out of the game.
Womp womp.
Womp womp.
I feel like throughout the whole, like so far throughout the season, your story has been like the whole story, the whole complete thing. What was your favorite moment from your experience? Like, you go from someone watching to now playing it. What was your favorite experience from it?
That's tough. I think it's probably a tie between surviving the voted episode 3 and getting into a fight with Billy in episode 4. Like, I think those are probably my 2 favorite moments. But like the episode 3 thing, I really thought I was going home, and I think I was supposed to go home. Like, I think they started the round thinking, okay, we're probably going to vote for Brent here because we don't want to face Spencer in a battle match. So the fact that I was able to get out of that with some help from Spencer, like, I don't think it was totally me. Like, I think Spencer definitely stubbed his toe strategically in that round by yelling at people and getting in people's face and pissing people off to the point where they're like, fuck you, dude. We're not going to help. We're not going to support you now. Screw you. We don't care who you pull into a battle match. Like, when you get people that upset, that's not good. So I definitely had that working for me. But I also really tried to tell people, like, strategically, like, this makes sense. Like, you need to do this right now. And here's why, because the battle matches are gender neutral. You're never going to have to face Spencer in like a weightlifting competition, for God's sake. Like, it's going to be something that you can do. And look, Muna faced Spencer in a memory match competition later that day. So like, I think I did some good work in that round. I stayed calm. And when I survived the vote, like, I thought I was going home. I really did. Because everyone kept telling me, it's like, Brent, it's 50-50. That's Brendan. That's my Brendan voice. Brent, it's 50-50. Like, I don't know, dude. Like, I mean, it's really close. I was like, I think I'm going home, and they just don't want to tell me. So when the votes were read and it was Spencer, I literally just collapsed because I was like, I can't believe I made it. And I knew I was free and clear because Spencer had to pick from the majority for the battle match. So I'm not getting picked there no matter what I said about Spencer that round. So when they didn't read my name, I was happier than a cat in a cat factory of food. I don't know what. I was really happy. The other moment was getting into a fight with Billy, because Billy is such a gem. She's such a diamond. Like, she's like, Billy's worth like 2 sides of the same coin. Like she can give it back to you and let you have it, and then like the next day be totally fine with you. Like, she just lets it roll off her back. She's awesome. I'm a big fan of Billy. I just think she's amazing. So I think that was probably my other favorite moment, because her little, girl bye, boy bye, like when she like starts hopping around, it just like, I've watched it at least like 20 times. It just makes me, it makes me die of laughter each time because she's just so amazing.
I will say, that is something that I am a huge, like, that's something I miss. I miss yelling at people. Like,
right.
That's why I still have game nights. So I can talk over people,
right,
and tell them off.
I never do that.
I know, you're so calm. Right? You're so calm.
I never talk over people.
And you would never talk like back to people. You just like calm and listen.
I would never slam the door in people's faces. Yeah, that was a mistake, by the way. Yes, I did slam the door in Brendan's face, but I didn't mean to slam the door in Muna's face. Like, if I had seen Muna standing there, I'd be like, oh, hi, Muna. Like, how you doing? I would never slam the door in her face. I didn't realize that was her coming in. I felt a body coming in from over here, and I was like, no, I'm still talking about my evil plan with Katie. Go away.
That was a lot,
right?
Especially now that we know that Brendan takes these kinds of things personally.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Brendan's also playing a fabulous game. I don't want to dog anybody. Like, Brendan's playing a good.
Oh,
yeah,
no, I'm not dogging.
He was indignant during that round when Spencer brought up his name, but he's playing a really good game. Like, he's really trying to be in everybody's ear, let people know he's their friend. I think everybody left in the game is playing. Like, here's the thing: there's 8 people left in the game. I'm just gonna like tout for the rest of my castmates at this point. There's 8 people left in the game, and everybody wants to win the money. Like everybody wants to win the game. There's nobody who's like, oh, I'm fine, like, you know, just making it to like final 3 or final 4, or I just want to like sit in the final 2 chairs. No, everybody wants to win the game. Everybody wants to win the money. So like they're gonna play, and I can't wait to see it happen.
Yeah, I'm very excited about the rest of the season. And I'm excited about beyond this season. And, you know, I don't know if you know this, but some people did come to Sequester because of you.
Oh yeah, a few people. Yeah, a few people. Look, here's the thing about the speech, all right, and the whole the thing, the idea that I had in my head. Okay, I think I have some good ideas sometimes, but the execution is not always great. I think my speech had a little bit too much me in it and not enough them. Like my goal was to be like, hey, I'm leaving and this is your game and I'm so excited to watch it. The way it came out was, I'm the star of the show and you're all the extras. Aren't you so happy to be a part of my journey? Right. So I didn't mean for it to be that way, but, you know, execution, probably a D-, and, you know, idea, maybe a B.
I thought it was, yeah, it was hilarious. I do wish we had gotten some good music behind it almost to like really give us that swelling music. But I thought
I know, right? Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, in the moment, it felt sincere. Yeah.
Yes, and I do think it was sincere.
It was sincere. It was totally sincere. I know, right? It was like I gave a speech like that. It was totally sincere. I was not like sarcastic at all. And I knew that there were people who like I could see Brendan's stink face the entire time, but like
he's so reactive.
I'm like, you're just mad because Spencer said he was going to vote for you. You're still mad about that. Oh my God. But like the rest of the people, they were all like, yeah, that sounds amazing, Brent. Like they were like, they know I could end up on the jury if Spencer beats me, and they don't want to like, you know, shade me on the way out. So I'll give them that. They did a really good job. I will say afterward, some people told me like, hey, we really liked what you said. We understood what you said. Yeah, you kind of stumbled over your words, Brent, but we understood what you were coming from, and we really appreciated it. People like Josh, Billy, Natalie, like they're totally awesome. And Spencer, obviously, I haven't talked a lot about him. He's my boy. Spencer, you know, he's a douche, but he's my douche, and like he's definitely made some mistakes in the game, and like. We're just going to have to see from here whether or not he's going to be able to overcome that or not. But like I coming into the game, I was like, when I saw that Spencer was there, I was psyched about it. Playing the game with Spencer, I was even more psyched about it because I'm like, this guy's terrible. This is awesome. People will never vote for me as long as Spencer's in the game. And then a twist came up and bit me that, you know, paired me with the one guy in the game that I knew wasn't playing really well at the time. So, you know, that's the breaks and that's the Sequester. But I just want to say this. I had the time of my life, you guys. Like I can't tell you how good of a time I had on this show. I was smiling from ear to ear the entire time. I got to do everything that I wanted to do on the show. I made it past the buyback. I didn't get pulled into a battle match until after that. I didn't get voted for. I survived a close vote. I got to be the swing vote in the Natalie vote in episode 2. I got to make a big move. Like everything that I wanted to do, I got to do. And I was playing to win. Like I was playing a game that was out in front, that was loud, that was crazy, so that if I got to the end, people, even if they hated me, would be like, look, at least he played. At least he fucking played. That's what I was going to hang my hat on. So, you know, that's my job now. Like I'm on the jury and I get to see like who's actually playing the game, who's out there really trying to play, and who's hanging back, because you know how I feel about that, Susie.
You're positive, right? You love it under the radar. That's what I understand.
Yeah, right.
From your critiques of my games in the past,
right?
No, but what do you think that not just this season, but the future of Sequester? What are you hoping to see in the?
I mean, I think the show is fantastic. I think it's I literally think it's the best show on television. It's the best reality show that I know, because it's the one show that puts the hands in the fans. It puts the power in the hands of the fans and says, what do you want? And really tries to cater to them and cares about what the fans think. I would love for a streaming service of some kind to pick up Sequester and work with Audrey. Like, she's fantastic, but she's the big dog. She's the creator. She's the big visionary. She doesn't want to have to do all of the grunt work that is required on a show like this, the little editing and the little, work with an actual production company that specializes in stuff like this. Still keep control of the show, keep control of casting and the twists, and then let somebody else, do all the other bullshit. That's what I would love to see from Sequester. And I think the show is totally capable of that. Like, my goal in also playing the season was to just raise visibility for Sequester to the point where people have to at least check it out and they know what it is and they know how it works. Even if somebody doesn't like a show, as long as they know, okay, well, I know what that show is and I know how it works. It has legs and it has possibilities moving forward. So we'll see what happens from here. But I'm really excited about the season. I can't wait for future seasons. I can't wait for season 5 and see who ends up on there. I would love to help out with production if I can. And if not, I'm definitely going to be doing the interviews for season 5 because I'm not letting Taryn have that no more.
Well, I think that's all we have for you. Anything you want us to add? Anything that we didn't see or hear on the show that
I think you've heard plenty from me all season. I've definitely had a lot to say about everything that's been happening in the game. I don't think it's impossible. I think it's impossible for me to keep my mouth shut. I literally think it's impossible. That's why, I think I'm just a train wreck of a reality show player because it's impossible for me. Like when Billy said, hey, you guys fight. That's what I want to tell you guys. And I said, Billy, stop kissing their ass. There's no strategic reason for me to say that, but I was just so through with her at that point because she had been throwing my name under the bus. And I was just like, I am so over the bullshit and I'm just going to let you have it. And then she's like, let me have it and I'll let her have it. It's just impossible for me not to have an opinion on something. So I'm really excited to see the rest of the season. There's going to be so much that I didn't see that's happening inside the house. Like, we see little bits as part of the jury, but we don't see what's really happening in the game. And I'm really excited to see that. Even though I said this earlier, I'll say it again. Look, I had the best time ever. This was my dream, getting to play a show like this. The production company, even though Audrey says they're amateurs, they're not. They're really good. They're really good at what they do. You feel like you're on the best show ever when you're there. They're taking care of you. They're getting you into confessionals. They care about the integrity of the show. They're not letting you talk to people when you're not supposed to talk to people. They care about you. So anybody that has ever wanted to do a reality show, girl, get out there and audition for season 5 and beyond. Because if you're amazing, the show will take a look at you and you can live out your dream just like I did, because I had a fantastic time.
All right. Well, I think that's a good note to end on. Thank you so much for sitting here with us, Brent. We really appreciate it, especially given that it's very early for all of us.
I know, for all of us. Thank you, Suzi and Tommy. Love you guys.